Welcome back to the Heal with Gold show. As you come in, please say hello. I am so excited to bring you back April. You guys have met her when we did the book event, and I told you you would see her again. She's the author of two amazing books. Hello, Marina. And I think you know, I love reading. I love books. And I have made a huge commitment to increase the amount of books that I am reading on a regular basis. Many of you know that I wrote the book Heal with Gold. Shameless plug right here. If you haven't read it and bought it, please go to Amazon, order yours. It's even on the Mika Fashion website. You can order there. Hello, Mary. Hello, aloha, salud. And I met April. I'm gonna actually tell the story once I bring her. But I just wanted, before I bring April, we're gonna talk about how she mothers. First of all, 9 children, 9, and then we'll talk about all the difficulties and challenges that she has to go through. But I wanted to talk to you about this book. I told you in one of my videos that I was reading it. I had it, but I was having difficulty reading the small typeface. So I bought one with big font. And if you haven't read this book, this should be your Bible. Today, I received my next 3 books, and I feel like a child in a candy store, so I had to share it. And I'm going to bring April in a second. Ikigai, I'm going to talk to you guys about it. I love the subject. I've read it. I know about it, but I can't wait to read this book. And these 2 books are by Dr. John DeMartini. If you don't know him, you will hear a lot about him because I'm going to talk to you about these 2 books after I read. I've done some of his courses, and he is absolutely brilliant. So for everybody who is here, Kathy, Marina, Facebook users, because you didn't approve StreamYard, without any further ado, here is my good friend, April.
Hi, everyone.
I am so excited to bring you back. About 2 months ago, when I went away, I took your 2 books. I finished them in one sitting. Your story is beyond exactly. I couldn't stop. I was like, nobody could talk to me. I mean, my husband, I was alone with him. Now, the books don't talk about what we're talking here today. This is a new book that I don't think you have written yet.
It's not published yet, but it's coming.
Good. We're getting a little bit of a preview of this upcoming book in such an important topic. But April, maybe tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do, and then we'll go and start from the beginning in the kids arena.
Okay. So what I do currently, so I'm a full-time teacher, and if my hands start signing, it's because I have 2 deaf children and I'm a teacher of the deaf, and my students are what we call transition students, and so they're age 18 to 22, so special needs, education, and so all my students are deaf and have autism. So that makes it really fun and exciting because I also have, just as a preview, my 8th child, yes, 8th child, is deaf and has autism. So I feel like I just get to live it all day long. But I do that full time. And then what my really exciting, I hesitate on to say the word passion because sometimes passions can burn you out. This is, I feel like, more of a calling that stories have always just amazed me. And you might think that stories, oh, she's an avid reader, she's been doing this for such a long time. That's not exactly the case. But the point is that when I see story, I know it. And I know that every one of us has a story, but that doesn't mean that you might be the best storyteller, right? So I am a ghostwriter and I help other amazing people, and most of them have been women thus far, to capture their story. Some of them are very busy business women that are amazing. Others have like ministries, and the list goes on and on and on. So as a ghostwriter, I help to capture their story, put it into my head, put it into my heart, and then out it comes my hands. But it needs to sound like them. And so it's kind of fun. It's like an acting job with words. So you kind of really absorb who they are, and out comes their story. And it is fantastic. Really love that part, as well as developmental editing. I have a podcast because my whole point is to amplify authors out there. Everyone's story needs a platform to be able to, be shared. And so I'm really big, like you can see, about lighthouses and all of that, because I know that we have light within us. We all have the light of Christ. And with that light, sometimes we might think, oh, just get a whole bunch of us together. No. What you do is with your one single candle power, and when someone comes next to you, they actually reflect and amplify your light so it stretches further. So Augustine Frischnell, he was a scientist back in the 1800s or late 1700s, and developed the first official lighthouse. One candle power with lenses and mirrors to stretch that it now can go 20 miles. One candle. You know how powerful a candle is, like the pool of light's like this big. Are you kidding me? 20 miles away, you're going to see that pinpoint? Yes, you are. And then as you come closer, it becomes a beacon. So that's in a nutshell what I love to do. And then my other life is happening.
Incredible, incredible. You write in a way that it's extremely captivating. You speak in a way that it's extremely captivating, and you sign in a way that is very captivating. And people are telling in the comments, they're sharing the same thing. And by the way, guys, I want to share with you that I haven't done a proper book launch of my book. And I chose April to be my MC, my leader, my amplifier to share my book, because I love when she signs. I think I just wanted that because I want to be as inclusive as possible. And just to think that there is somebody that can't hear, that it is joining us today and listening to this podcast, makes my heart sing.
Me too.
And I feel like I just danced.
I will say I'm not a licensed certified interpreter, but interpreting all day long, and for my kids, mostly I do my best with signing so that my girls have access. And we'll talk all about this in a minute. Sure.
So look at this. I'm amazed, April. I have one autistic son. I can't imagine. April does a beautiful job with book launches. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Powerful. Such an inspiration. And never tire of hearing April speak. Me too. So April, first of all, I want you to share, when you're telling people your story that you have 9 children, I think you're going to have to give a little bit of a background that they're split into 2 marriages. Right? So
yes,
people understand also. So give us first that kind of a background, and then tell us about the first time, the first kid, when you found out that he or she, the first one, I think that he was autistic. What was your reaction? Were you prepared for it? How did you deal with it? And then how you transition from one to the next, and then the second marriage.
Okay, so here comes the quick and dirty background. So some of you have read this book, Pinpoints of Light, and no, it's not really a shameless plug, but it's to make sure that you understand where this is coming from. So in my first marriage, I knew I wanted to get married, and I knew I was going to have big kids. Big kids are within my family and generationally. So my mom is one of 3. Her mom is one of 8. Her mom is one of 11. And her mom is one of 9. So it's kind of big in the family. So with myself having 9 children, I knew once I got married that that's what I wanted in my life, was a big family. I didn't have a number, but I just knew that I would have this. So as we got married, and as we felt like, well, I felt like we were, same team, right? I knew that there'll be struggles and problems in life and in marriage, because you can't go through life and expect, the happily ever after Translation meaning no problems. No, I knew that was not going to be the case. So, but I really thought we'd be together in the same team. So just to kind of put this part into perspective, my first husband and I got married within months, discovered I was pregnant, so excited. And my first son was born about, let's say, about 14 months after we were married, so pretty quick. And then as he came, suddenly I found I was pregnant again. So now we've got 2 kids within 3 years of marriage. And that becomes pretty stressful on my husband. And at that point, things really started to shift. So to narrow the story down, he became, he kind of went back to his old addictions and alcohol, drugs, all of that, which I was not used to. I didn't understand. I thought, again, together we'd be a team and the problems would be, hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I thought there'd be more like cancer or financial trouble, something like that, where together we would try to push through. And him making this decision to do that was really, I couldn't understand it. I was just young, naive, trying to figure it all out. Found out I'm pregnant with my third. So to kind of paint a little background, we would have these cycles where with our first kid, it kind of happened pretty quick, not much to cycle into. But with our second, the stress started to build and mount on my husband. He was a general contractor, and what I say is that he was to wood as Michelangelo was to marble. So he was just an amazing craftsman. He could see anything. He could develop house plans, and they would be perfect. Like a structural engineer would stamp approve, go build that house. And he could do every single part, from digging the foundation, surveying the land, everything. Cement work, plumbing, electrical, siding, shielding, everything he could do. But his favorite part was when we got inside and all of the wood and the crafts and the crown molding and just everything like that. Amazing. So when number 2 came, some of our jobs were getting a little thin, right? And the stress is mounting. He's trying to deal with it with drugs and alcohol again and hiding it from me. And so, while we're trying to get better, other things are withheld while we're trying to figure out life. And then kind of we go into this repentance cycle and things get better, yet we never quite cycle back up to where we were. It's always just a little bit underneath, and then we head back down again. And usually when we would have that cycle of repentance and come back up, I would discover that I was pregnant again. So I guess you could say we had 5 cycles, because in my first 5 with my first husband were in these cycles where we were in that stage of coming back together and doing well and staying dry and sober and all of that. And then to mix it in, my first husband also suffered from bipolar schizophrenia that was not diagnosed until a little later. So we'll share about that part, because it really has to do with the children. But that's my first 5. And then later, being single mom for 2.5 years, got the prompt, like, it's time to start looking. And I'm like, really? What a catch. 5 kiddos, everybody come look at this. Oh yeah, and 3 have autism. Come on, who's ready? Signing up. Like, my profile picture was me with all the kids, like, package deal, ready? This is a 6 for 1, man. Oh yeah, like, who's gonna, yeah, I'm like, I am plenty safe. Dang it, except for Scott. He was like, oh, that's amazing. This is interesting. Let's communicate. And so if you've ever done any online dating, anyone out there, I can't see everybody, but anyone out there for online dating, yes, this is back in the day of the online dating, like, just, it's rough, man. It's really rough. But the long and short of that is we didn't have our first date till about 2 months of just purely communication. Now that's like 16 years in the online world. Then we had our first date, and I'll share with that a little bit later, but needless to say, it went well. And once we were married, within 3 months, discovered I was pregnant with number 6, and then quickly number 7, and then number 8, and then number 9. I mean, I don't know. Guess I'm a rabbit. I don't know. It just, there it is. But I will say, with my second husband, we didn't have to have any cycles other than maybe I was coming up to age 40. And so my body's like, come on, let's go. So I don't know. Other than that, that's kind of how it all came about. But there's no twins. I get that asked that a lot. Any twins? Nope. All single passengers, all 9. And I actually lost one in between or Isaac and Maggie. So technically we do have 10. So that little spirit's waiting for me to get back home. So we'll just see when that happens. But yeah, there's the story of the 9.
Wow. Wow. Bless you. I don't know how you did it, but good for you.
I don't think very, very far in advance. I'm just like, sure, this is fun. Let's go.
The trying is always fun. I don't know about carrying and delivering, that I don't know. And then raising. And now talk about the raising. That
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the raising. So I'm going to show you a picture because some people are like, no, she really doesn't. No, I really do. Okay, now this is an older picture, but we're all here. Okay, I got to do my, okay. Okay, all right. So let me see where okay. Where am I? Okay, oldest.
No, hold on.
There's, okay.
I'm playing here. Okay.
She's playing around. Okay. Oldest, this is Kellis. Mm-hmm. Then Garrett, Isaac, Margaret, Virginia, let's see her, Virginia, Marianne, Breton, Rosie, and Scooter Joe. So there they all are. And it's true. I do have 9.
So let me ask you a question. Do you remember all of their names? Like when you call them, do you call them by the right names?
All the time, perfectly.
Really? Okay. I don't know for a second. Listen, I even call my kids by the dog's name. So I'm really bad. I was hoping that I'm not the only one. So
no, I'm usually going through the list, or I go through the number. Number 7, come here. What number are you? So what's really fun is when you're on vacation and you open up that big 15-passenger van. I had one man ask me, hey, y'all from a church? I said, no, but we got a church. It was great. Yep.
Oh, hold on a second. Wow, I am number 14 of 14 siblings. What's your name? Because you're not an approved StreamYard, so I don't see who you are. Unbelievable. 14th out of 14th. Oh my God. I don't know. Either you were happy that they left you alone, or by that time everybody else was out of the house and all the attention was on you and you were screwed. One of the two. Okay, go ahead. So, how do you find out that the first one was autistic?
Well, that's an interesting question. So, number 1, number 2, number 3, got our little package set. All focus is on number 2. Number 2, cried a lot, tough, hard to console, was fine as a small baby, and then around age 1, night terrors started. And if you've ever experienced a night terror from, the perspective of a 1 or 2-year-old, there's no calming down. There's no story that can really break that. They're just going to scream until whatever is happening is finished. Well, that night terror started when he was 15 months old and went till he was nearly 19 months every night. So back in the day of VHS, right? I had the longest tape I had was Bambi with a plus 25-year celebration anniversary little how we drew Bambi kind of thing, right? I knew that thing. I started at the very beginning of the tape with the FBI coming up and all the way through. That would maybe buy me almost 2 hours. And he would just be glued to this. Now, young mom, don't really understand what's happening. Something's that's a challenge. But I'm also pregnant with number 3 while he was having these things. And my whole thing was survival for sleep of any sort. So again, my husband is doing drugs and other things and is schizophrenic and sometimes abuses us. So again, survival is best. And I'll take those 2 hours. Thank you very much. So my understanding, like developmentally, I knew something was off. What? I didn't know. And I was embarrassed and ashamed and didn't ask very many questions. So when we would go to the pediatrician, I would ask a few questions, but this is really pre-autism screening that became so normal. I would say in about 2005, 2006, that's when the screenings really started at your pediatrician. And so we're before that, but it's getting more and more awareness. It wasn't like nobody had understood, but even myself, I had never heard the word autism, not at all. So my first, you talk your ear off, He would use these words that were amazing, like photosynthesis. He is 2, and he knows where to put it, and he knows what he's talking about. And I'm like, brilliant, you're welcome, right? That's how I kind of felt. And then I have my second, who is
Yeah.
right. My second, who can't make a sound other than this shrilling scream, and his head mass is very large compared to his body size. So his head was in like the 10 percentile, and then when he was near 8 months, it had gone to almost the 85th percentile. So it had really, I can say this because I'm his mom, blown up. It was just kind of big, and I was like, okay, a little off, but okay. And one time we went to a photographer to get their pictures taken because height-wise they were about the same, because my first was really tiny, skinny, and Garrett was just kind of normal, but they looked like twins. And I heard the photographer like, oh, they're twins. One's retarded.
I can't believe it.
We got our pictures for free. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. But I have to say, and I can say that story because it was one of those things of like, uh-oh, I'm not imagining this is really happening. Other people are noticing something. Now, was her response appropriate? No. But was it a wake-up call for myself? Yes. I had to stop being embarrassed, and I had to go and start to figure out what's happening along with surviving. And then we moved to a different state, and there was a few other things that happened in between. But in that time that I was in a different state for about 8 months, I started to notice more and more things that were off, where he would stand on his head in a triangular, like a trapezoid type of pose and watch movies. And then he'd scream if the movie stopped. So we just, rewind that VHS and throw it back in there. He watched Fantasia 2000 until the tape finally broke. And that was not a good day. Anyway, all of these things are kind of happening, going on. But my first is just talking, everything's great. And number 3 is just an infant and just is at the boob the whole time. So I'm like, great, he's quiet. I'll just hang him there. Just by his teeth, he'll just hang there and I'll get everything else done. That's what's going on. Sorry to be real and raw, guys. But yeah, it's surviving. So when we came back to the state where we'd left and then returned, I was able to get back to my pediatrician. And so he's had we'll just say about a year difference. And the first thing he noticed right off the bat, my pediatrician, was watching everything. And he asked, can he play with these things? And I gave them to my son, and he played with them. After he played with them, which meant lining everything up exactly perfectly, the doctor just moved one of the cars just to see the response. And I'm at that moment like, no, because I know what's going to happen. And yep, there he went. So the doctor was like, okay, let's think about some other things. And he was looking at his chart and his head size circumference and things like that. And now I'm not saying that because he had this massive growth within his head, like in a short time frame, that's a key part of autism. However, many who have and display autism, that can become a similarity. So, don't don't quote me like, well, like a checklist. Oh, it has a big head. No, because it's always different. I'm just saying for him, it's one of those similarities that can happen. So the long and short of that is we went and started doing some genetic testing. And this is where the whole family had to donate their, the DNA, so blood swabs and everything like that. And for a whole week, they observed everyone. Me, my husband, my children, of course. And at this time, I had just had number 4. And I know you can't keep track of the dates, neither can I, but I did have the 4th one at this point. And after all of this, after 1 week driving up and down from where we lived, it was a 2-hour commute to get down to the place of the testing. We would stay all day. I was like in heaven because it was like free babysitting for a week because they were taking the kids and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I just get to be with my little girl. Love it. So I was having like a great time. And when it was all finished, I got this stack. And I'm not kidding. And I was like, wow, they have discovered everything for my son, Garrett. Amazing. Took it in, got home, opened up the file that said Garrett, opened up the file that said Kellis, opened up the file that said Isaac, and opened up the file that said my husband's name, all labeled with autism spectrum disorders. All the stuff just fell on the floor and I just sat in a puddle. And everyone was kind of doing an Indian dance around me because they were just, living life. And it was the impact of the century. I had zero hope, understanding what to do, nothing. I called my pediatrician the next day. He says, oh, yes, I got the results as well. And he says, there's not a lot of help, but I have a number that you can try. So I called, and it was the Northern Utah Autism Program, and so they call it NUOP. And the point of that program is there's a waiting list, only 24 students a year, and the monies do not come from education dollars, they come from human resource dollars, and that's an important distinction because with that money coming from a different source, they can actually force the parents to do volunteering. And if I got into the program, we'd be required to volunteer 40 hours a month because we needed to learn the programs. We needed to learn how to work with our kids, all of that. Garrett, because of his birthday, got in at age 3. And then his birthday is near the end of October, so 3.5, or 3 and a little bit, and then he turned 4. So we were able to get the full 2 years of him, as well as my other son, Isaac. But Kellis was over the age limit. But I learned so many valuable things, ABA, discrete trials, like all of these things. And I was a sponge, and I applied everything because I had lived in chaos for so long with my husband, with all of them. And now my daughter is also showing, like, just marching in line on the autism spectrum. And I'm like, okay, so now we got 4. Turns out she was not diagnosed with that, but with developmental delays and some other things. I'm like, okay, we'll just keep living with life. So I just knew this was going to be a part of it. And so I thought, okay, do I take it and accept it? Do I sit down and cry and look for, who to blame? It was red dye number 5. That's who we're blaming. And, whatever. Was the microwaves in there? Honestly, I don't care. All I know is that if I find a blame and assign it to the microwaves, to the red food color number 5, whatever, who is working with my child? Oh, that's right, me. I needed skill work, and I needed skills immediately. Now, I had learned a ton, but I knew that, he's 5, and we're just starting the door of education. First place, kindergarten, watched an assistant take him and do what we call the drop kick. Drop kicked him towards the swing. I thought, nah, that's not going to work for me. Thank you. So started homeschooling in chaos. Don't recommend. But that's what I did because I didn't know what else to do. Then I got a call from an amazing woman who was a board president for a new school. They were doing a charter school, and it was with the focus of autism. But it's a public school, so anyone can come. But they are going to emphasize spectrum supports needs, have their own occupational therapist on hand, as well as two speech therapists, like you name it. And we were putting it on, and she asked, "Would you like to be part of the board?" And I said yes. This is a really key on this story because it allowed me an out. Because financially, which is a whole different part, we were at the bottom. We were just always one thing away from being removed from a home, from an apartment, from anything. So all of that stress and everything happening, I was able to become part of the board, and I just dove in and just went for it because I knew that if I performed well, my first three boys, they get first on the list. They get in. They don't have to have the wait list. Our waiting list was already over 400.
Wow.
Yeah, the need is so great, and in this particular area it was massive. And so everyone was just scrambling to get in, and we opened the doors in 2006. And right before then I was asked to be removed from the board and to become the 5th grade teacher. And I was so excited for this opportunity because I knew it would be a living wage for myself, for my family. But it also killed me at the same time because that meant my 2 daughters, number 4 and number 5, we're gonna have to go to daycare. And that was the hardest part of this whole thing for myself because I had been right there the whole time. But I knew that making a living wage would allow me to get out and to leave. And so I took it, and we went and did. So
I just want to interrupt you for
yep.
1 second because I don't know who is listening and who will be listening. And some of the people that heard you speak about your book when we did the other event, they know some of your story of being an abused wife. And so it's very important that people understand that while you're navigating this whole autism world, you were also trying to deal with a spouse who was abusing you in so many ways. You were being knocked down emotionally, physically, and mentally, and you needed to find a way to escape that marriage. So you were planning this escape while you were also navigating 4 kids with autism. So for anybody who thinks that April is incredible, you have absolutely no idea how true that is.
Those are really hard words to sign about yourself when you're signing them.
But it had to be said.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Yes, it was a challenge, but I have to say, getting the doors open for that school, the whole new world started to open up for myself. And I'm great with schedules and following things and keeping routines and stability. And we had been able to establish that pretty well, despite the chaos, because I could remove him and we could still be this nucleus, and it was okay. Until that night, November 28th, 2006, when we left. I had about 8 minutes. Think about it. 8 minutes, 5 children, trying to sneak out of your mother-in-law's home and can't start the car. So we're going to push the car, the van. I had a cooler with a few food items in it, left the house in a dump, grabbed a few jackets. Oh yeah, because it's November and it's snowing. And we took off. And we were homeless. Now that's the part I don't recommend with children with autism, is to be homeless. They like that routine. They like that stability. So it was a little tough, but we made it through. And once we got all things settled again, and I was able to move into an apartment and then into a home, we really started to see the development of all the kids really, take off because we had that stability. So my second son, Garrett, he has the most intense autism, and now he also has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. We know that it is genetically passed, and his his schizophrenia arrived at age 19, full force. And that was quite the challenge, where we see this bright, amazing, talented artist. I have a roll of poster boards. They are 112 poster boards glued together. So this massive roll. And if you unroll it, it's 120 feet in length. And what does it have on it? Every animal that he wants in a zoo that he's going to build in the future. He still
Wow.
has that. Yeah, and it's all categorized, and it scrolls it all out. There it is. Somebody heard about this. They got the local news, and they came in and interviewed Garrett and all of his creations and dinosaurs and everything that he just loves and lives in. Well, this bright, amazing man who, when we first started school at Spectrum, sorry, I have to laugh, he was the fruit bat. I'm not even kidding. He would hobble into the school, I'm a fruit bat. And he would go like a fruit bat, because that's what they did. And he would only lick his food, because fruit bats did that after they took a bite of the fruit. Then they would lick out all the sugar. And I'm like, it's okay. He's just a fruit bat today. I mean, for the whole year of first grade. That's okay. And he had a patient, loving, amazing teacher who helped him to get through a lot of those things. And that's what we found. We found Garrett has an endearing heart. And when you have a heart like that, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can help you. I can support you. And so this bright, amazing, talented, gifted man fell into that dark, deep world of schizophrenia. And the hallucinations started. And he tried to jump out of the van when we were on the freeway. And we're up on this place where we call the decks. So there's no shoulder. Once you're on the decks, you're committed. You can't pull over. And a trucker saw him trying to get out the van as I'm trying to slow down. So this trucker came behind us. Another trucker came beside us and kind of helped guide us over. They could see that something's happening. And we finally, they kind of did their own, what am I thinking of? Like, segue? No, that's not the word. I can't think of the word, but they just helped us to get over and off into the exit, which exit happened to be right there at the hospital. So we got him safe and everything like that turned out. And he ended up having to go to the hospital, the mental hospital, for about 10 days. And we didn't know if he was going to come out of where he was. And I knew it was going to take time, but I didn't know if I'd see that light again, ever. And that was tough. And I took my oldest to go see him to help maybe trigger some, what family is again, because he was so lost. And it kind of helped a little bit, but it really shook up my firstborn. And it was tough to see his brother like that. But he's back and doing pretty good. And those things are great. So we have the mental health challenges with it, with how suicide can happen in an instant, what feels like an instant if you're not constantly watching. And, other things have been challenges. But the part about the autism is really, it's a gift. It is amazing. And it helps to keep him safe. My first son, he's able to now work. He works 2 jobs and he's out independently on his own. My second son is almost as independent. He has left the home and he's living with my parents to kind of help with them. And he's working now at UPS. Great job for him. He is like living his Tetris dream. You guys all remember that game, Tetris? He can pack a truck like nothing. They're like, can you just turn 21 already? Because we need you to drive these things around. You're just amazing. And he's like, he's so happy. And it's just the right setting for him. He knows exactly what's going to happen. Packages every day, big, small, pack that truck, close the truck, off, next truck in. So that's, steady for him and it's great. Now, when we come to this other half of where I've got the other kids coming, when number 6 was born, she was so cute, but she kind of grunted like a little piggy. She was like, and I thought, oh, that's cute. didn't really think much more than that. Not to say that kids don't grunt like a little pig, but it was so cute. And then after a few weeks of this, and my cute son, he's watching me nurse for the first time. He's like, oh, congratulations, you are a mammal. Thanks, Garrett. Oh yeah. It was so cute. I was like, all right. Yeah. And it was just matter of fact. It's like, well, you produce milk like a mammal. I guess you're a mammal. And I'm like, yep. So, so fun. But the long and short of that story is so I'm doing dishes and I have her in a little car seat. She's down by the dishwasher and life is happening. And the bottom of the dishwasher rack kind of falls out and crashes on the floor. Plates break. I'm like, my daughter didn't flinch, blink, nothing. I was like, what? Because now she slept. When she slept, nothing woke her up. And I'm like, best baby ever. Oh, that's right, because she can't hear. I didn't know that. I mean, I was banging the pots and pans behind her head. No eye blinking, flinching, nothing. And I'm like, okay. So I went back, same doctor, same pediatrician. I'm like, hey, Dr. Hum, I got some fun for you. Oh what if we do some testing? And he's like, let's do it. I love this man. I love him. He listens to mothers. He does not a pacify excuse, put this out. He's like, tell me more. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's see what we can do. I love him. He has saved my children's lives so many times. And with this happening at this point, so we're married. My second husband is accepting in all of these kids. He's like, yep, we're doing this. He's a bachelor, no prior commitments, no other children, no other marriages, nothing. He has jumped into the state of fatherhood of 5. Like, here we go. And then all of a sudden, wife is now pregnant with 6. His first, my 6th. Here we go. And I call Scott my Joseph. Mm-hmm. Because I think one of the most amazing men in scripture is Joseph of Nazareth, who was called to take care of Christ. I think that's pretty amazing for him to be a stepdad, right? And I think all steps who come in when they need to are those Josephs in our lives. And amazing. So there's my shout out to Scott, because he accept them all. And now I've got, number 6 coming and coming back to where we are. Long story short, all the testing came back. She's deaf with severe to profound hearing loss, what they call on a I'm not going to get the word right. Hang on. Let's see. Neuropathy spectrum disorder. That's the kind of deafness she has. Basically means all components of hearing should work. Everything's there, but the nerve is misfiring. So the sound goes in off of the eardrum, through the hammer bone, into the cochlea, and it just stays there. It doesn't shoot up into the brain, or when it does, it misfires the timing. And so the brain can never make an auditory pattern of anything. And it has to be the same sound as like a jet engine at the same time that the nerve wants to fire. So she really hasn't heard much her whole life, which was fine with me. I'm like, okay. Now my PTSD, the only thing I needed to know was that I needed to be able to communicate with my daughter, because I will never forget the lack of communication with my sons. Now, my oldest one could say anything, but it was still tough to communicate with him because he was just like this encyclopedia, a Wikipedia, just going off. My other one, Garrett, didn't speak until he was 4. And it wasn't until we got him to settle down to start learning some of these words. He wouldn't even do picture exchange or point. He would bundle up and just scream. And I thought, okay, these hands are amazing, and we are going to learn how to do ASL. And I know that there's this and there's this and there's all these things. What if this isn't working? What if the battery dies? What if? I'm like, these right here attached, not going to break. We're good. Let's go with the hands. And I was, oh man, this is a sign for oppression. They said, if you teach your deaf child how to sign, her brain will be different.
Really?
Oh, yes. That's first thing. And I said, well, I hope so, because she can't hear anything. I want these visual cortexes to be huge, and I want all the stuff coming in. And the audiologist was not prepared for my response, and neither was the other doctor who was there supporting the other audiologist. They were like, oh, oh. They were ready for sign the papers, get the surgery, get those cochlears on her. Now, I'm not saying that people that do that are wrong. It was wrong for my family. It was not right for her, for Marianne, because even because of the deafness that she has, with those, it was less than a 3% chance that anything would help and support it. So I'm like, why do all of that? And so, I don't want to cause problems or anger anyone, but for ourselves, our family, the choice was to sign. And it was like, it was the least supported decision ever, which shocked me because,
Yeah, I'm shocked.
it is shocking. There's so much money wrapped up in making sure you can fix something that's broken. So many in the medical community look at deafness as broken versus, okay, that's how they are, because it becomes a whole culture and a whole way of life. It's different than blind, because blind, you always have this coming in. You don't have to learn a different language to communicate. You can speak. You can hear it. You can speak. The reading is a little different, but you're reading English with those raised bumps. With American Sign Language, it's actually based off of the French language of signing. And so you do topic first, and then time, and then you finally get to, where English it's all reversed. So it's tough. Anyway, and I'm just doing signed English right now, but it's not truly signing. And the part is learning all of this with the autism, teaching full-time, husband working full-time. I was panicked to try and figure out, how am I going to communicate with my daughter? And I had a dream. My daughter was around 25. She came in and sat on my bed and explained to me everything that happened on her date. It was a beautiful man. This date, she'd been dating for a long time. I knew all of this in my dream, and I could understand her signing. It was beautiful. And as the dream progressed, her language increased and my understanding decreased. And I had to keep saying, what? What? And she was getting frustrated with me, because where the complex things she was saying, I could understand, but my understanding started to get just more and more diminished. And by the end of the dream, she was so frustrated with me not being able to understand her. She just said, I'm finished. As she walked out and slammed the door. I woke up in a sweat, and I'm like, I will learn how to sign for my daughter. I was completely panicked. I knew that for her and her access to anything, language was going to be the key. So we started, and it was word by word by word. We had deaf mentors come into the home. I'm trying to teach the other 5 kids, come sit down and let's have a learning lesson, and labeling and signing again. My home has been like a laboratory for forever. We've had labels on everything. We've had all of these things happening. Yeah, it's just great. But that's just how life is for us. And it's awesome. When number 7 came, hearing, fine. And he started picking up the sign language because we were using it with Marianne so often. So I'm like, whoa, look at that bilingual. There it goes. And the other ones were picking it up. And number 8 was born. Her signing was amazing. She was signing at 4 months. Dog. Point. It was unbelievable, her language. The progress, I was like, you're welcome, everyone. I know. Like, it truly was this amazing thing. And then at 15 months, it all stopped. Language completely went down. She was down to maybe 3 words. Tantruming, difficulty with her movements, had to have everything lined up. I'm like, this is a little familiar. I think I know what's happening here. And so she's deaf with autism. And at that point, I'm like, okay, everybody, new game plan. With my others who have autism, the ears still work. Whether they shut their eyes, Things are still going on. Even if they plug their ears, no, things are still going in. You're deaf and you shut your eyes, you're out. There's no language coming in. You don't have to do anything. Bah! Like, oh. So I needed help, and I needed help immediately, because I know that whole time frame that you have with the early intervention. If you have that, your likelihood of building a foundation of language, communication, and then their abilities to gain more and pick things up just completely increase. I am a strong believer of early intervention, because everything's so plasticity. I mean, you can just do so many things with the brain. You still can afterwards. I'm not saying that it's a dried up old prune, even though sometimes we think like that. It's still there, but we know the earlier you can get the language in, the better, as well as behaviors, as well as blah, 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 blah. You name it. I've been on the national stage speaking about autism for about 8 years. I have been traveling, helping, supporting. I'm all about the teachers. Let's get in. Let's help you with these behaviors, with these challenges, and build relationships with your students. And I'm going to show you how. And that was the whole key of everything. So I knew I needed that relationship with my daughter through language, through, if she shut her eyes, I was like, I'm out. So we did a huge move from Utah to Texas so that my girls could attend Texas School for the Deaf. I was able to get a job in the transition program. And let me tell you, arriving there at the Access program, I might as well have arrived on the moon.
Really?
I thought I knew. First staff meeting, I'm like inside just crying buckets of tears.
Wow.
I left and I'm like, I can't do this. And I moved my whole family here. And oh my goodness. It was so traumatic for me, thinking, I just thought, well, maybe I didn't think. I was just like, okay, I'll just get this job and we'll just keep going because they need the language. Oh, I need the language. But teachers were super patient. And I'm telling you what, deaf culture was so accepting of me as a hearing person trying to do my best for my deaf children that they were like, okay. I had one teacher for 2 years. So you spell names and you spell things that don't have a sign, or to clarify the sign because maybe the sign is similar, okay? So every time there had to have something spelled, like a name, she would be like this. This means ready. Then she'd start.
Each letter by letter.
With a head nod. And I'm like, now see, I'm dyslexic. Spelling and me, I can spell with ASL with my left hand. I can actually see the words pop up. When I spell with my right hand, which is domineering, I still miss every spelling.
Wow.
Every spelling. So if I spell out with my left, I got it. So when they're spelling to me, my left hand starts spelling, and then I understand the word. And that's just a brain problem for myself. But anyway, so I've probably blathered on a lot. If anyone has any questions, I'll be quiet for a while.
This is incredible. But after that, you still had another kid.
Yes. His name is Scott. Joseph for Scott and for Joseph. And he scooted in here. He came in 3 hours, which is like fast. Couldn't believe it. And, Scott's used to like, all right, well, it's going to be a while. And he went to the cafeteria to grab some food, came back, and I'm like, pushing. He's like, camera. Oh my. It's so cute. And which was good because Scooter, the nurse, little birthing story for all you moms out there, not to scare anybody, but so number 9, right? So the nurse like, well, let's get you prepped. Let's get you all excited. It's going to be great. So she's doing the monitor and everything. She's standing right there by the monitor, and she hasn't left the room, and it's been 45 minutes. And I'm like, hey, so this is number 9 for me, and you haven't left the room. Tell me what's happening. She was like, okay, because you've had 9. Let me show you. So she turned the monitor back. She's like, see this? With every contraction, he's not rebounding. I don't like that. 140, heart rate 140, 130, 30, 30, 50, 50, 30, 30, 50, 80, 100, 120, 120. Because where his umbilical cord, right where I was contracting, so I was squeezing off his life. Sorry, kid. Still love you. Just the wrong position, I guess. So she's like, can you just try to push? And I'm like, I got a job. I'm all about a job. Let me focus in, and here we go. And yeah, he got there. She's like, if we don't have him in about 4 pushes, we're going to the C-section. I'm like, oh no, we're not. We're doing this. And so there he came, and he was blue because he had a triple wrap as well as that going down. Now, little Scooter. So cute. And here he is, so happy. And he's such a cute little kid. Math whiz. He's my math kid. Everything is counting and numbers. And so my husband's like, I'm like, it's smart. It's okay. It's okay on this one. So it's just kind of fun. And so here we are now with the 9. Now see the age range. We have age 22, 21, 20, 17, 15, 11, 9, 7, 6. There's the range.
Incredible. April, tell me something. I am curious about your overall attitude. I didn't hear one time you say, I had so many issues. Do I have to have more? Like, can't I have some that are that things go smoothly? I mean, I think that most of us, when we go through issues in life, at a certain point we say enough is enough, give us a break. Did you ever have this attitude? Because you seem like in action to figure out a way out, but I don't see at all resentment, anger, nothing.
Okay, you want to know my secret?
Yes.
Okay, it has to do with family. And let me tell you a story. So I shared with you earlier about big families. So my 4th great-grandmother, her name is Ellen Parkinson. She's 5 years old. When her family, she's number 6. No, yeah, she's number 5. No, 6. She's number 6 of 9. The family, parents, they decided to leave Scotland and move to America and to join their faith altogether. Mr. Parkinson was very, very well-to-do in Scotland. He owned industries. He was able to sell them all, was able to get a good pile of money, come here to America. When they arrived, they were able to buy many different oxen teams, as well as different, what we called hand carts at the time. And he decided to give his oxen teams to families that had nothing, because he felt like we were strong enough to be able to do this journey. So they arrive, they take a boat through the Erie Canal, get down to St. Louis and kind of the jumping off point, and they're going to walk 1,300 miles into what at that time was known as Deseret, which later was known as Utah, and they start their trek. And they're walking with a group. They're in a company called the Martin Handcart Company. They were told to make sure all provisions were ready and to take care of, and to start their journey. So as they began their journey, it was actually the wrong message. It said to stay until you're ready. The seasons are going to be changing by the time you're out on the trail, but they missed that. So off this company goes. And there's another company that was ahead of them, the Willie Company. So 2 companies of pioneers are crossing the American plains to get to this valley known as Deseret, or the Salt Lake Valley. And off they go. My grandmother is 5. Great-great-great-grandmother is 5 years old at this time. And she's watching things. She's getting stronger herself. And she notices that some of her older siblings are kind of getting sick. And she's noticing that provisions are going down. And by the time they arrive in Wyoming, winter, an early winter, had happened. We got 20 inches of snow on the ground and bitter cold. We're in the negative 18, negative 20 degrees. It's October. So this is unusual. And we've got to camp of people in a little place called Martin's Cove who will die. And my grandmother fell asleep next to her mom, who perished that night, along with a sister and 3 other brothers. So think about this for a minute. Mom and dad have died. Brother and sister and brother have died. Oldest brother has left the camp, and she's there with herself and 3 others. That's left of the family. She has a choice. She can sit in the snows of Wyoming, or she can get up with the rest of the survivors and make it to Salt Lake. That's the key for myself. I knew that there wasn't a choice. There wasn't an option to sit. There's not an option to sit and perish. That's not an option. And I know it was her drive that continued to push me forward. And to this day, we know that Ellen is very much one of our angels for our family and watches and cares for us. And, you know, it's really that simple. You have choices in life. And I call in this book, the Out of Darkness book, the shame shadow. It's that negative voice that never stops. It's still, I can still hear it. It just never stops, but it's in the shadow. So if I turn and face light, then it'll always be behind me. It doesn't shut up, but I can turn to face and focus on something else. And so that's just how it happened. Survival is an incredible power and strength, but you don't want to get stuck there either, because it becomes an identity and I'm just a survivor. I'm just a survivor. Well, don't you want to thrive? I had a really amazing friend. I was bragging about how much stuff I had survived. That sounds so stupid when I say it out loud, but I was like, and then I was like incredible, and I survived this too. And she was like, aren't you tired of just surviving, and don't you want to thrive? And she stripped me of my identity, of everything that I felt I had built myself up on. Even Ellen, like, I was enraged. She had no idea. But when she left, I was in identity crisis, full-blown identity crisis. And I'm down here in Texas with no family, just here with them. And I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I was so bitter for about 6 months. And she has she does now because I've talked to her, but she had no idea that one sentence just, oh. And then I started to do something about it, because again, when I sat down in the snows of my life, listening to old Shamey over there, I was like, well, this sucks. So I just sat up and started to do things better. And in fact, one time I was doing the laundry and folding everything, because at the time we had 22 loads of wash a week. So that meant Sunday night, there goes all the loads, and everyone's out and they've got all their baskets and they're sorting out the underwear and the socks and getting their clothes and sorting. And I'm watching an interview and they're talking about birth. And this mom said, as soon as he was born and they handed him to me, I just had this overwhelming feeling of love for him, and he didn't do anything. Sledgehammer to my heart. Finally, I understood. I didn't have to prove my worth. I didn't have to please anybody. I didn't have to perform anymore. I didn't have to perfect anymore. I just all melted away with a lot of tears, like booger cry. I was blowing my nose in socks, and I think I probably folded them again, put them back in the clean basket. I don't even know. Like, it was crazy. My kids were like, fold faster, Mom's losing it. Like, it was like that. I'm like, yeah. And my husband's like, it's okay. Everyone's like, my son's like, she was talking about her baby being born. I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Then I got the prompt, it's time to write. And so this book fell out of me. With this was not a second book. This was actually part of this book. And then I got another clarity to split that and just share the story of the first. And then with the second book, explain how healing for myself happened. And, I wish it was like this, like, whoa kind of thing. No, it was just me, and it'll connect with a few people, and that's great. But that's the story. So the attitude, all of that, because what are your options? What are your options? It always comes down to a choice.
But you know what, April? I think that the fact that it's that simple, it is a gift because it is permitting everybody else to see the simplicity. It's not that it's easy, but the simplicity of making a choice. You make a choice, you get up and you find the strength and you ask for help and you do it. And you just do it. You grind it.
Yep.
And it's not that you need anything special, but the understanding that you can make it happen, that you have within you. And I think that that's a gift in its own.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think so.
April, you're amazing. I want to open up for questions. We already went over the time, but I let it because I just wanted to keep hearing you. And I think I can keep going, but you know, I started getting up at 5 a.m. since I interviewed Sean Swarner, and I've been keeping it. Thank goodness you're not going to make me do anything crazy because I cannot add another habit. So let's see here questions. April, what do you do in the moments alone with just your glorious self?
Thank you, Gina. What I do is my mornings are my time. Usually my wake up call is 3:28 a.m. And I have that half hour. It's just peace, quiet. I read, think, ponder, write, all those things that are nothing earth shattering, but very encouraging and foundational for myself. And I allow myself to write. That's my painting time. I paint with words and create story. That's what I love to do. So like coloring, it's like, oh, that would kill me. So I'm like the narrator on everything. I'm like, and I just love to paint with that. So that's my time. And then work on the business from 4 until 6:30, and then head out the door to go teach with everybody, and then come back for family time and podcasting and everything else like that. So
What
that's
time do you go to sleep if you're up at 3:30?
So we go down. The evening routine starts here about 8:30, and by the time the last one goes down, it's about 10. So 10 o'clock. So from 10 to 3:30, well, 3:28 a.m. And the Lord's blessed me with some energy to be able to do this. So I'm going to keep doing it until we get more of the business thing situated. And because right now I'm sole provider for the family. So my second husband, he's had a stroke. We know there's lots in here who know the stroke thing.
Yeah,
And so
yeah. April and I have that in common.
we do have some of those pieces. So he has severe diabetes, and it's a challenge. And we all went through COVID in January. That was wild, but we all made it through. And so,
I just want
do it.
everybody to know that April also does cartwheels.
I can move something here and go right now.
I'm telling you,
I'll do some
no,
kicks.
she's really a superwoman because she can do cartwheels. But I want to bring another question. What a great, amazing testimony. How do you do it all? Work, parent, write books, and the new business? Well, I guess you just answered that question, but you love what you do. Talk about the passion, because you said it's not that I just go to work. This is my calling.
Right. So the concept is relationships are what everything is about. Humanity has to connect with humanity. So as a teacher, that's my job all day long, is to make sure that we're connecting. And right now, as a transition teacher, I help them with social skills, with work skills, and all of that. So it's a joy and it's an excitement to see them start to grow and progress. So I'm all about that part. And if you focus on the how do I do it all, where's the special pill solution thing, there just isn't. It's a plan. So you set your goals and you set your plan, not the plan of then I'll do this, then I'll do this, and I'll do that. Not That's not the plan. The plan is, okay, these are things that need to get done today. Can you help me? And I'll do it the way that you want me to, but this is going to happen. We're good? Okay. So then we go, and we're led in different directions. And if you accept that and drop your control, remember, don't please, don't perform, don't perfect for anything. Like, you want to see, okay, I'll show you. Okay. I'm just showing you. I'm being real here. This is the student. Here we are. Do you see all that junk? Okay, guys. Okay, does that have to be amazing for this to happen? No, we just need this to be amazing, and that's it, right? Come on, you guys, be real. Drop the pleasing, perfection, controlling. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Just enjoy life. Aww.
April, I love you so much, so much. You are a gift in my life. I hope that a lot of people are going to, connect with you. If they want to write books, reach out to you. I always tell people, if you need something ghost written, April is your gal. But connect and build these friendships that are meaningful, because the people here, the people that I'm bringing here, are really heroes. And the people that you want to connect, because you can learn from them. Like April is what she is. What you saw today, that is April. That's her authentic self that you can have if you choose to be her friend. So she's in our group. You can connect with her anytime. And April, I'm so happy that you're in my life. By the way, I want to tell everybody how I met April, okay? Because you can do that, what I did, and no shame. I was in a webinar about books, and April was there giving a testimonial, and she was speaking about a product. It was a computer program, and I could hear in her voice that she was someone special. So I wrote in the webinar, I would like to reach out to this person. Can I connect with her? And the guy who was running the webinar said, April, there's a person here who wants to connect with you. And then he gave me April's information. And that started our relationship. So when you guys are somewhere, if you listen to podcasts, no matter what it is, if you meet somebody that you feel there is a spark that can add value to your life, don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. The worst case is that she wouldn't reply to me. And you know what? So what? Right? Not an issue. Do you know who I reached out to today? You're not going to believe it. I wrote to Brene Brown. And I said, would you like to come to my little tiny show, Healed with Gold? So I don't know, guys, but I'm saying it. She may not respond, but if she will, then you guys will be able to hear from her here in the show.
That would be incredible. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Okay, you just challenged me. You just challenged me.
Good.
I have something in my heart, and I have never dared. So now I'm going to dare. I'm going to do it. Okay.
Are you going to say what it is so we can keep your
attention? Sure. So I have this thing. So in all the abuse and all of the things that were happening, my creativity, because of surviving, was really shut down. And I wasn't even aware how starved I was for it, right? I actually did a little segment on this on Sunday, because I have a thing called Because I Left Domestic Violence Blessing Number, and then I named the amount of days that I've been free from domestic violence. So on Sunday, when I said that, I shared how I had saved something. I was getting my master's degree, I was teaching full time, I was getting my license, and I was single mom of 5, right? All these things are happening. And the creativity was gone. When I finished and graduated, I promised myself that I would pick up a Harry Potter book and start reading. And I know, oh, who cares? Yeah, it's kind of old news. For myself, I hadn't seen, read, heard nothing about it. Okay, I graduated in 2008. The 7th book came out in 2007, and I haven't seen, heard nothing. So I had saved all of that, and through that summer, the long and short of it is, I consumed it all, and then some. And she opened my mind again to story and to words, and I could write again. I had been so starved for so long. So a friend challenged me, and I need to reach out to J.K. Rowling and tell her this testimony, because she came from domestic violence, from an abusive marriage, left, was a lone parent. Like, it's not that I idolize somebody, but the way that she made a name for herself and all of that, and allowed to do it through a story that we all hooked right into. That's Magic.
April, she's going to reply.
Okay.
You,
I'm going to do it.
I'm putting the words out, and I'm affirming that she's going to reply to you.
Okay. I'm going to do it. And so will Brene Brown with you.
Brene Brown. Today, I also reached out to Edith Eger, Dr. Eger. So today I went all out, and I am sending good vibes to everybody who is still here an hour and 15 minutes after we started the show, that all your dreams should come true. Go after, don't be ashamed, don't be shy, go for it, whatever it is. The worst is not going to happen. The best, the more you do it, the less fear and the less embarrassment you have. And I love you all. Thank you so much for being here today. Have a good night, everybody.